Hi, my name is Yasmin Sharehi, and this is Gateways to Awakening, where we host one-on-one conversations with leading experts in wellness and spirituality. Today's episode is with Beth Greer, the supernatural mom, best-selling author of Supernatural Home, a toxin-free living expert, stem cell activation advocate, and documentary film producer. She's the former president of the Learning Annex and eliminated a tumor in her chest by detoxifying her body and home. Her work has been endorsed by Deepak Chopra and Dr. Joseph Mercola, and you can find the latest news, info, and programs at bethgreer.com. We're really excited to have you on the show today, Beth. Thank you for joining us.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So I have read your book, Supernatural Home, and I've listened to a lot of the talks that you gave online, some at Google and just some other outlets. And I'm really curious if you could tell us what exactly is a toxic home. You have so much knowledge about what this means because of your own personal experience. But for the audience, can we just start with talking about what a toxic home exactly is?
Sure. People are living in their homes and thinking everything's fine, but most people don't realize that the air inside their homes can be 10 or even 100 times more polluted than the air outside. And that's from all the chemicals that are in our products, in our carpeting, for example, in our couches that are off-gassing, in the paint that perhaps you painted recently. I had a client who had terrible headaches, and I said, "How long have these been going on?" She said, "Well, 7 months." Well, what happened 7 months ago? Oh, I remodeled. She put in some new cabinets and she put in new carpeting. And when I went over there, the smell was just horrific, and she didn't equate it to her headaches. So the solution there was, open up the windows, get some fresh air, and I had her get some air purifiers, and that was a pretty toxic home. Some other things that are toxic in our home is the food that we're eating, the tap water that we're drinking. And when I say the food we're eating, I mean the food that's been sprayed with chemicals, pesticides, for example. So it's so important to eat organic food whenever possible. The tap water can contain trace residues of antibiotics and pain medicines and sex hormones, even heavy metals and solvents. So small amounts of this can harm us over time. Like it may taste okay, and you think that it's really fine to drink out of the tap, but it's so important to get a good water purifier, for example. And also the things that we're putting on our skin every day after day, year after year, decade after decade, it goes directly into our bloodstreams. So the toothpaste, the deodorant, the shampoo, the fragrances that we're surrounded with. So that's what I mean by living in a toxic home.
Wow. And you talk about everything from the food that we eat to products like cleaning supplies, toothpaste, deodorant in your book. Can you share some of your findings? I found a lot of what you shared to be incredibly helpful. I actually went through a lot of my cabinets and started taking things out and removing things from my home and just thinking really differently about what I want to put not only in my body through food, but on my body with the moisturizers and cosmetic products. So I'm curious if you
Good.
could, yeah, if you could share some of your findings. I mean, I think for everyone that wants probably a more in-depth review, definitely check out the book Supernatural Home. I think every single human should go and purchase it. But if you could just share.
Thank you. Yeah. So, for example, deodorant. There's a chemical in most stick deodorants called propylene glycol, which is found in antifreeze. And so, when I discovered that, this was in Tom's deodorant, and everyone thinks, oh, Tom's is all natural, but the second ingredient was propylene glycol. So I've been using baking soda, and it works like a charm. I just put it in a little glass salt shaker, and I sprinkle some on my hand and put it under my armpits after I take a shower. And there's no odor. It won't stop the wetness, but there's no odor. And I know that, it's safe for my body, and I'm not putting all this other stuff on me that gets into our bloodstream. Actually, it goes directly in. Our skin is the largest organ. And so when we slather ourselves with moisturizers and And, the thing that really kind of, in my research, I discovered something, it's called greenwashing, where manufacturers will use words like natural or safe or, even organic. And so much of that is really meaningless, because even if you see the word organic, it could mean there's just a small percentage of the product that is organic. So hair color, for example, I found this hair color line and I thought, oh, this is fantastic. It's an organic, all natural, hair color line. But then when I started looking, yeah, there's 6 organic ingredients in it, and then 26 other really toxic,
Oh no.
awful stuff. And so it's so misleading, and it made me so angry, because I thought, okay, I finally found, the right thing that's going to be safe, and it isn't. So yeah, you just have to be careful about all that stuff. And fragrance is a real hot button for me, because when you see the word fragrance on a label, it can mean there can be as many as 100 or even more chemicals in that one catchphrase that manufacturers are using in these products. So if you can imagine, you've got fragrance in your moisturizer, fragrance in your deodorant, fragrance in your hair products, all of a sudden it adds up, and you're surrounded by like 400 different chemicals.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. And you also talk about the concept of a product that says made with, made with essential oils, made with organic materials. What's the difference
Right.
between something that says, and I mean, this is the first time I learned about this. I think most consumers are just not aware of what's going on from the packaging and marketing level. What's
Right.
the
Right.
difference when a product says made with versus,
Okay.
yeah.
Versus 100%. So when I first discovered this was with a loaf of bread, and it said made with whole wheat. And I realized that it was just a fraction of the bread was whole wheat. The rest of it was white flour. And I just started looking around at other things and other products. And then I saw it in a lot of personal care products. And that's, we'll say, made with essential oils. And there it is. It can mean 1% or even a fraction or a dot of it, rather than 100%. So you want to look for 100% essential oil or 100% whole wheat, if that's what you're looking for. But yeah, the word made with is very, very misleading.
Wow. You also, in your Google talk, had an example of a loaf of bread that you showed the
Mm-hmm.
audience for that, I think it was like 7 months old and looked exactly the same,
Right, right.
which totally scared me.
Yeah. So there's a preservative called calcium propionate, and that is a mold inhibitor, and it really, really works. Because yeah, I had this loaf of bread that I used to show about the made with thing, and because it said made with whole wheat. So it was in my pantry for 7 months, and it didn't have a speck of mold on it. And then I read the ingredients, and I saw calcium propionate. And then when I researched it, it had it says that it's linked to ADHD behavior in rats. And so
Wow.
you can imagine, if you're eating it or your kids are eating it, you're being exposed to this chemical that could affect your behavior and your brain.
Wow.
So you want to make sure that when you buy bread, for example, or any kind of baked goods, you want to find the ones without this preservative in it and keep it in the refrigerator or the freezer to keep it fresh.
Beth, is there a website or a place that people can go to search their own products and cleaning supplies? And I think, for the average consumer, myself included, I don't actually know what a lot of these ingredients mean. It would take me
Mm-hmm.
some research to understand what's what I'm putting in my body, other than things that are pretty obvious.
Right.
So
Well,
yeah.
there's the Environmental Working Group, ewg.org, has a whole database where you can search your products and see where they fall out in terms of healthy versus not healthy. And the other thing is, I've done the research for everybody, because my background in journalism and all this. And so I on my website, supernaturalmom.com, I have a whole list of recommended products. So I have the purest and cleanest of products on there to help you out. A big shortcut.
Awesome. Yeah, and in your book, I know you also share some of the products that you've said that are safer than others. And the sunscreen section was particularly interesting for me because I think, for a lot of people, the average sunscreen is just filled with chemicals and toxins. So,
Right.
and you even include a section on creating your own sunscreen. So,
Yeah, I have a recipe in there
yeah.
that I learned from a nutritionist, and it works. Yeah.
Amazing. Beth, you healed yourself of a tumor in your chest 19 years ago. Can you tell me how you did that and just walk us through your
Mhm.
journey? I obviously, I
Sure.
think, realized that it led you to this toxic-free lifestyle. So I'm just
Right.
really curious if you could tell us.
Sure. So I was running a company called the Learning Annex, and it was in 6 cities, and I was very stressed, and I was having to interact with people like Deepak Chopra and Marianne Williamson and Wayne Dyer and all these big personal growth people. I was learning about relaxing and meditating, but on the other hand, it was a very stressful situation, and so um, I think that stress and the fact that I didn't cook my own food, I was eating out like every day, um, paired with some other things, uh, I developed a tumor in my chest. I, I thought it was just sort of a pain in my shoulder, and I got to the chiropractor, and it was just getting worse and worse. And then an MRI determined that it was a mass in my chest. It was called a schwannoma tumor. It was a nerve root tumor, benign, which means it wasn't cancerous. But I went to 3 top surgeons, and they all said, it has to come out surgically, and they couldn't agree on how to access it. And so I just decided to take charge of my own healing. And I thought I had some time because it wasn't cancer. And so I started by looking at first what I was eating, and I realized, again, that I was eating out all the time. So I started just making sure that I was cooking and eating all organic food. And I got a water purifier. And then I was looking at what I put on my skin. And, as I said earlier, just all the toxins in the personal care products and the makeup and the deodorant, shampoo, and all that. So I switched out to all natural products and then looked at what I was cleaning my home with because bottle of Windex, for example, will say hazardous to humans and domestic animals right on the label. And I realized, well, this isn't a smart thing. And so I switched out to baking soda, white vinegar, and hydrogen peroxide to clean with. And the other thing that I did was I managed my stress and started meditating and exercising, getting out in nature. And it took about, I was diagnosed in December, and then in May, um, the pain went away. And then a few months later, I had another scan, and the tumor had disappeared. So I realized, this was like a giant wake up call. Our bodies are self healing. If we just get back to nature and treat it the way it was meant to be treated, without all these chemicals and toxins, and just live, with the most natural way you can in this high tech society. And now, um, back then, the electromagnetic fields and stuff were not as intense as they are now. But now, I think that a huge factor in people's uh, illnesses are the fields that from our cell phones, from our computers, from our Wi-Fi routers, and all that. So I have information. I have a free ebook on EMFs if people would like to download that. That's on my website. And just to give you some tips on, my number one tip is to turn your Wi-Fi router off at night when you sleep. That's the very least you should be doing.
Yeah, I definitely do that. I've noticed an improvement in my sleep quality for those of us who are very sensitive, especially.
Mhm.
Wow. Very interesting journey, Beth. So
Mm-hmm. So then I wrote the book, Supernatural Home, after this experience, and then sort of this has become my life. I wound up selling the business, and I'm really committed to helping people heal and to find the most, the least toxic, the most natural ways to live and to heal.
oh, beautiful. And why did you choose to go public with this information? I know that once you discovered this information for yourself and healed yourself, was this just part of your, larger mission? Did you want to make it your mission? I'm just curious.
That's such a good question. I guess because, um, with my background in journalism, I started writing about it. And I sort of wanted, the clarion call. I wanted people to wake up and just, understand that they're being poisoned. So I started writing for the San Francisco Chronicle, and I had a column there called "The Natural Home." And it was kind of funny because after the fifth column, I think it was, they kept getting letters from the cosmetics industry, the plastics industry. Who's Beth Greer? She's not a scientist. There's nothing wrong with our products. And they basically said, "I'm sorry, we can't have you write for us anymore. We don't have the manpower to answer the letters."
Wow.
And so that's when I decided, well, I'm going to turn it into a book. So that's what I did.
Wow. Yeah, I mean it's interesting. Of course, there's a lot of probably pressure, like external pressure, when someone is talking about the toxic chemicals that are put in these products that are put in our bodies. So that's very
Right. Well,
interesting. Yeah.
think about the advertisers, right?
Yeah.
They can't, a newspaper can't print something that's saying something is dangerous to their readers, and they're advertising it at the same time.
Wow.
Lipsticks or whatever. Yeah.
So, and are you doing anything different now? Have you been tumor free since that incident? And I mean, I'm just
Yes.
curious, like, what has happened to your energy levels? What has happened to your life? Like, what has been the overall reaction to this massive change?
Well, I guess the first thing is just having the faith that my body is on my side, and that, if I work with it and nurture it, that it can heal. And I know I look better than I did back then. I don't have dark circles under my eyes anymore, and my energy levels are great. Now, one thing that happened to me as a teenager was I got kicked in the leg playing soccer by somebody who was wearing street shoes and not sneakers. And so my leg never really healed properly over the years. And in my 50s, it started getting really gnarly looking. And
Hmm.
I had gotten injections and all kinds of interventions. And finally, a doctor said to me, I should have surgery, and that he was going to go in through my femoral artery, or vein rather, and then go down and inject it and sort of kill off the blood that goes down to the ankle, because my ankle was just looked horribly bruised, purple, and my foot was swollen with edema. And I discovered this amazing new technology right now that's non-invasive, non-toxic, non-transdermal. It's a patch, and it stimulates your own stem cells. And so I started wearing this patch on the back of my neck, and within a month, my leg, it started making these amazing changes. And by 3 months, it's like jaw dropping. I have pictures of it. It's just extraordinary. So this has been my now new kind of mission to help people heal, because it's been so dramatic, not only for myself, but a friend of mine who has MS, who, within 2 months, her limp is gone, and
Wow.
her neuropathy is going away. She can feel her toes. I have another friend with Parkinson's, and her balance is better. She doesn't need a handrail to walk down the stairs any longer. She'd wanted to kill herself when she was diagnosed 2 years ago. She was so depressed. This is a woman who was doing yoga and running and biking, and diagnosed with Parkinson's. It was just felt like a death sentence to her. Now she's got joy in her life. So I could just go on and on about how people's lives are healing from pain, Lyme disease. It's just one thing after another. Diabetes. A guy has reversed his blood sugar levels. So I'm just ecstatic over this product. And
Beth, are you working with any doctors on this? And I'm just curious for people that maybe want to talk to a medical. And by the way, for this show, nothing that we say should be considered as medical advice. You should just for sure talk to your doctor if you want to supplement it with anything. But I'm curious if there are any doctors that actually use this product as well, or if there's any centers that are studying this.
There's several studies on this website. So if people go to startx39.com, they can find out about it and then contact me. But there are hundreds of research studies and patents, and many doctors that I'm working with are using it for their patients who it just enhances what they're doing. So, yeah.
Wow. Beth, what are some interesting stories from people who have used the kind of methodology from the supernatural home for their own homes and their own lives? What have you heard? What have you seen?
Well, the things that I've seen personally, because I go into people's homes and I measure the electromagnetic fields, for example, and so I have a couple of stories about that. A child, young boy, was waking up every morning with headaches for 2 years, and the mom didn't know what to do. She had a brain scans done on him and all kinds of tests, and her home was fragrance free because fragrance can be a big contributor in headaches. And she ate organic and she cleaned with all natural everything. And everyone was barefoot in the house. And so she asked me if I could come over. And I was thinking, well, what am I going to find? This poor child. So anyway, I walk into his bedroom and he has a giant air purifier next to his headboard. And I have this meter and it measures the fields are like really high. And I said, well, why is this so close to his head? And she said, well, he has grass allergies, and I thought this would help him breathe better. But it was really, a problem. This is the thing. People just are not even aware that some of these devices we have in our homes can be so toxic to us. So I moved this unit 10 feet away. And the next morning, she called me up in tears. And she said, this is the first morning in 2 years that he hasn't woken up with a headache. And, I just was like, so interesting. So I tell everybody now, to just please don't have any electronics in your bedroom, especially next to your headboard. And then there was another woman with a baby who wasn't sleeping. And when I went into the bedroom, well, two things were going on. The child had a baby monitor, a Wi-Fi baby monitor right in the crib, which was so unnecessary because, right, you can pick up a baby monitor from feet away. But anyway, the other thing was my meter showed a very high field on the wall that the crib was sitting on next to. And I said, what's on the other side of the wall? And they said, oh, it's a refrigerator. We have our garage there. So the motor from this refrigerator was just beaming on the baby's crib. So we just moved the crib across the way to the other wall, the far end, and that problem solved.
Wow.
So there were those. And another example of someone with a cough. She had a chronic cough. She was on inhalers and codeine cough syrup. And when I went into her bedroom, she had like 20 scented candles. And these candles, are fragrance. Each one of them, think about it, hundreds of chemicals emitting from each candle. So, plus the fact the candles had a metal, it had metal in the wick to help the candle burn longer. Wow. Well, that metal, do you know what that metal is made from? It's lead.
My
so
gosh.
When I looked up at her ceiling, she had like soot up there, and it's from the lead wicks. So when you look for candles, you want to find those with just cotton wicks, and if you want a scented candle, look for something with either 100% essential oil or just a beeswax candle, which smells fantastic.
Wow. Well,
no chemicals.
That is, I've heard, thankfully my apartment, we're not allowed to have candles because I think with all the fires in San Francisco and just, just people kind of leaving candles out, like actually taking them out completely has been an amazing practice for me. So that's really great to know. And I'm fascinated by the story of the baby monitor and the baby crib, because I have so many friends that do that. To just
Uh-huh.
even the little video that watches the baby, like, wow, what are we
Right.
actually what are we actually
Right.
doing to our young children? Yeah.
Well, I have another example, and that's on the opposite end of a woman who is older and she's living with her daughter. And in the bedroom, she has a camera and the baby monitor right by her head. And this is this poor woman. And it was interesting because the daughter said to me, ever since I installed this camera and baby monitor, my mother's um, brain started like going downhill. Her she was missing words and all this stuff. So we got rid of them. We moved them away. And that's the thing. You have to distance is really important.
Wow. Yeah. And even having your phone close to your bed. I know that that's kind of a popular one, just moving your phone into another room, or just putting it on
Mm-hmm.
airplane mode or turning it off.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Beth, why do you think that this subject is so important? Why are you dedicating so much of your time to it? Also, it seems like that you said you sold the Learning Annex, which we'll get into next because I want to talk about that a little bit. But you sold the Learning Annex to focus on this journey. So I'm curious, why did you devote so much of your life to this?
It's a great question. I think because people are unaware and they're, going around with blinders on, kind of like, well, I grew up with it. It must be safe. Or I actually had a friend tell me she was opening up a little packet of Sweet and Low, and I said, don't use that. That's toxic. And she said, why do they sell it? She said to me, why do they sell it if it's toxic? And I said, do they sell cigarettes? Yeah, they do. So they sell a lot of toxic stuff. So people are just, and then I have this other friend who she swears by Splenda, and she likes the taste of it, and she said it dissolves in hot and cold water, and she's just not
Oh
giving it
no.
up. So
Oh.
and there's the people like that I can't get through to, but the people that are open to understanding and learning about this, I guess I just want to kind of let them know that there's another way. And if you're suffering from a chronic illness or aches and pains, and you can feel great again.
Yeah. Wow. And this is probably a question for another show altogether. But what even fascinates me more is two people living in the same household. One could have a very adverse reaction to the
Mhm.
same product or chemical. So it's super interesting how,
Well,
we
yeah,
don't
I
start.
have
Yeah,
right.
go
I have
ahead.
an example of that because one of my clients is sick, and she has a mold allergy, and her house is full of mold, and her partner thinks that she's a hypochondriac because the partner has no problem. And
Mm,
so what I discovered is like 20, I think it's like 25% of the population is mold sensitive. The rest are not. So if you have a partner who's not, they are going to think you're a hypochondriac. And but mold is a real killer, and it, really needs to be addressed. And I believe that even the people who are not mold sensitive are being impacted by that mold. They may not be feeling it now, but over time it's going to be an issue in their health.
wow. Beth, what sort of things have really surprised you on this journey?
I think that the things that surprise me are the people who are not uh, open to learning or understanding. So I remember this woman called me into her home, and she wanted me to check the electromagnetic fields. And I did, in her bedroom and everything. And then her husband is sitting in an office, and I noticed that he's got a Wi-Fi router on a shelf right at head level, which is nuts. But anyway, right at head level. So I walk in there, and the fields are like, I don't know if you've ever been seen a meter on a Wi-Fi router. It's insane. It's just the field should be definitely below 1,000. I mean, that's even high, but this was like something like 40,000.
Oh
It's
my
right at
gosh.
his head level. So I show him this and I show him the thing and I go, it's really not a good idea, to have this by your head. And then he said, so then I said, how's your health? And he goes, it's fine. Anyway, so walk out of the room and his wife pulls me aside and she said, no, his health's not fine. He just had thyroid cancer surgery,
Oh
like
my
it's like,
God.
so, I saw it as a direct correlation and he wouldn't hear of it. And so she said, look, you're never going to change his mind. I just want to know about my sleeping area. And that's all she cared about. So that's what surprises me.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Beth, you were also the founder of the Learning Annex, and I know the Learning Annex was very popular. Can you tell us more about your work there and why you started the Learning Annex and why you found it to be so important?
Yeah. So I wasn't actually the founder, but I was president and co-owner. Founder was someone else, and he started in the 1980s. And my husband at the time and I took it over, and we transformed it from. At the time, he used to have like women in bikinis on the cover, on the front cover, and then I put Wayne Dyer, a bald man, on the cover. And I remember this guy was yelling at me. He was like, "That's crazy. No one's gonna, pick up that magazine, the catalog." But so my passion has always been personal growth, and so I just loved running this business and meeting all these amazing people. Deepak actually endorsed my book, and so did Dr. Joseph Mercola. So yeah, it was a company where back in the day when before the internet, we'd have live classes and um, we had as many as 5,000 people show up for Deepak Chopra. When he first started in 91, we had him come speak. We had a couple of hundred people. And I remember trying to get him interviewed on the news, and the news, they said, no, it's too spiritual or woo woo or whatever. It's just so interesting how things have changed.
Yeah, and they're continuing to change, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think someone was that Carolyn Mace who said that you either open up because of curiosity or chaos. It's like, when something horrible happens to you, then you start searching for alternatives and answers.
Right. That's right. And it's good that you said that because because for me it was chaos, the tumor. I don't want to have to go through another chaotic thing, and I want people to avoid that if they can. So curiosity is so much better, and easier on the system.
Right. Right. And you can do it from a space where everything in your life is settled and grounded, not, chaotic, as well as your health.
Right.
Beth, what books or resources do you recommend our audience to read or check out? What has been transformative for you as you have moved along on your journey? I know you did a lot of research to write Supernatural Home, but I'm just curious, and it doesn't have to be related to this topic, but, the topic of wellness in general, like what books have been most transformative for you?
I think all of Deepak's books, quantum healing, and the spontaneous fulfillment of desire. I also like David Hawkins' work. It's an MD, PhD, Power versus Force. And then books now. I'm reading a book called Quench. It's about how dehydrated we are, and we need to really pay attention to not only just drinking water, but eating water-rich foods, fruits and vegetables to help us. And anything to do with nature and the effect of sunlight and air, fresh air and gardening, that whole thing has really been terrific, terrific for me to remember to do that. I have a garden now, and it's just so fulfilling to grow things and eat them.
Yeah. You talk about, I didn't actually have a ton of time to research this, but these like community farmers or community gardens
Oh
that,
yeah.
yeah. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, they're CSAs, community sponsored agriculture. And so you can buy a box of fruits and vegetables or eggs or whatever from a farmer. So you sort of create a relationship with the farmer, and then you you buy into their harvest basically. So, but I also believe in the farmers markets, and they're fantastic resource. And to taste an apple from a farmer's market or from my backyard apple tree, but to smell it. And then you go into even a store like Whole Foods and you smell an apple and there's no scent, there's just
Yeah.
something there. It's just different. Yeah.
Yeah. We're lucky in California. We have a lot of farmers markets, but I think by the
Mm-hmm.
time food gets to other parts of the country, it's, there's a change, there's a shift. And then also with farmers markets, you can find organic, you can find products that don't have pesticides. But yeah, I used to live
Mm-hmm.
in other parts of the United States, and I just remember how much harder it was to find really high quality organic fruits and vegetables. So
Right.
I love the idea of having um, a sense of ownership in the harvest of a local farmer.
Mm-hmm.
Taking not only
Right.
their wins but their losses feels just like an
Yes.
inclusive philosophy about the food and the earth.
Right. And I just watched this film last night on Netflix called Kiss the Ground, and it was a documentary about regenerative agriculture and regenerative farming. It's really well done. It's all about the importance of soil, and it's just I highly recommend it.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna put that on my list. I just watched My Octopus Teacher, which I think is
Oh,
is
so
kind of
good.
all the rage right now as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
About nature being our teacher. Beth,
Yes.
what's sort of the last takeaway that you want to tell our listeners about their health and wellness? What's sort of your main takeaway after all your research and your journey over the last 20 plus years? What's sort of your kind of main highlight?
I think it's that really to get as close to nature as possible from the food you're eating to the products you're putting on your skin to the products you're cleaning with, and also to try to avoid the over-the-counter drugs and the medications and the surgeries if you can, and work with a functional medicine doctor or naturopathic doctor, and then find a tool like these patches that I talked about from LifeWave that can heal you without any drugs or any chemicals, whatever in there. It just stimulates your own body's ability to heal, and our bodies we do heal. I mean, if you cut your finger, it heals. So you just want to enhance that ability to heal as we age.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an important point. The
Mm-hmm.
body has a natural ability to heal. So remember that. It's always like it's kind of hard to remember that, right? Because we're so busy, but when we get quiet,
Well, we're busy, and then we rely on the medical establishment who tells you to just take a pill. There's a woman I know who was taking 13 ibuprofen a day for her pain. She's destroying her liver and her stomach. It didn't compute that was a problem. So now she's on the patch and she's off the meds. So yeah.
wow. Well, thank you so much, Beth. And are there any resources that you can point folks to learn more about you? Where can they find your
Oh,
book? Where
sure.
can they find more from what you're working on?
Yeah, so supernaturalmom.com is my website, and you can get information about my book there and my ebook on stem cells. If you go supernaturalmom.com/stem cells, or is it? Yeah, I think it's or stem cell ebook, I think is the thing, and you can download a free copy of that. And I'm very available to answer questions you might have. And yeah, I have a great section in there called recommended products that I've vetted them all. So from water filters to mattresses to personal care products and all that.
Great. Wow. Thank you so much, Beth. Very grateful for your time.
Thank you, Yasmin. Great.
Thank you. And for our audience, thanks for joining and for listening. In this episode, we learned about living in a toxin-free home and living a toxin-free life with Beth Greer. You can tune in to Gateways to Awakening, where we host one-on-one conversations with leading experts in wellness and spirituality. Thanks again.